From Wacko Chaco Studio, I am Ashwin Chaco, and this is The Fruitful Life, a show about the business of creativity and the stories behind the creators that have made their dreams a reality. Hey folks, welcome to The Fruitful Life, Fiona Woodcock. Hey Fiona.
Hi Ashwin.
Thanks so much for taking the time to join me on today's show.
It's my pleasure. Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, not at all. So, for our audience that might not know you, do you mind just introducing yourself? Tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay, yeah, so my name's Fiona Woodcock and I make picture books. For a long time I worked in animation and then I discovered that picture books were my thing. And I've been doing this for about 10 years now, the books.
Wow, that's amazing. And I'm looking forward to diving deep into it. But before we do, the classic question I ask all my guests to break them in is if you could be a fruit, what fruit would it be and why?
Okay, I think my gut reaction to that one, I'm aware it could be a slightly boring one, but an apple.
Okay, yeah, nice,
It's
nice.
just it's just a classic. I
Yeah.
kind of respect it for its kind of honesty. It's got that kind of integrity of being a kind of classic fruit that's always been here and I imagine always will be.
Yes, yeah,
So it's got that kind of classic honesty, but also it's quite adaptable.
yeah,
It's not just, it can be turned into beautiful drinks and other foods and things. So yeah.
true, true. Very nice, very nice. All right. And now we're going to scroll back into the past of Fiona's life. And I'd love for you to share a little bit of what you were like as a kid. Were you creative? Were you living in a creative household? Um, what drove you to start drawing and pushed you down the path you took today?
Well, yeah, I was a creative kid. It was
Yeah,
always the thing that I loved doing
yeah,
in all situations. Now, here's the thing: I'm not sure I was amazing, you know,
right. Yeah, yeah,
but it was the
yeah,
thing I clearly loved, so I was encouraged to do it. It wasn't an overtly arty household, particularly,
right.
um, but it was clear that that was my thing.
Okay.
And at school, I think it was kind of recognised, and I was chosen to be in a little art club, and we exhibited our work in the library.
Oh,
It was
wow.
like a moment of huge pride. So from a really young age, there were those sorts of things where it just became this inevitable thing that I knew I wanted to do something to do with art, but it took a while to work out what that might be.
Right, right. And how young were you when you were like, I think this is the direction I want to go?
Um, oh, really young, because I remember sort of there were ideas of wanting to be like a fashion designer and things like that when I was
Right.
really, it's quite interesting. You have to remember how old I was. I have to remember where I was when I was thinking those thoughts. And I was
Right. Yeah,
in our
yeah.
first house and we moved from there when I was about 9. So I remember when I was there sort of wanting to be a fashion designer and drawing things. So there were all these ideas. But the interesting
Mm,
thing is that and I remember maybe wanting to be an interior designer, but the thing is in the doing books, I kind of get to do all of those jobs because I get to
yeah.
design the clothes and the hairstyles and the interiors if I choose to put them in you're making a world. So
Yes.
I kind of
Yes.
can tick off all those dream jobs in one,
Yeah,
um,
it's true.
which is quite cool. So yeah, pretty young when I knew that I wanted to do something like that, but no idea how it could happen
Mm, mm.
because
And
I hadn't seen
so,
it in my world or with anyone around me or anything.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's very hard at that age to like know unless you have interacted with another artist of some kind that it could be a reality for you. Otherwise, it's just sort of like this vague sort of imagined, like, it would be nice, like, I would
Yeah,
love to.
yeah, yeah, exactly. One thing that was quite helpful, because my sort of generation, my brother was the first to go to university.
Oh, wow.
But I had a cousin up in Scotland who was fantastically talented artist, and he went to art school. He was a few years older than me, so it kind of that was quite inspiring, thinking, well, he did that, maybe I can. So there are things like that I think helped.
Right. Yeah.
Can I ask a little bit about little Ashwin? Were you scribbling away as well?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
My mom retells the story of me at the age of 5 or 6, asking her if I could draw for a living. At the
Yeah.
time, growing up in India, it seemed like an impossible thing, but she shrugged her shoulders and said, "Maybe we'll see." You know,
Oh, that's
uh,
nice.
for now, just finish your homework.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I was quite fortunate that my parents were very encouraging of my gifts. They saw that I would not survive the Indian schooling system, and so I ended up going to a really cool international boarding school um, in the foothills of the Himalayas. And that's so I kind of grew up in this really beautiful place and surrounded by a multicultural um, group of people,
Yeah.
you know. And then a family friend who also went to this school. He's 10 years older than me, so I would have been like in middle school or something, and he was like graduating. He had finished, and he became or he went into full time being an artist, like paintings and stuff like that. So that was super encouraging for me as well to see like somebody could actually do it
Yeah.
or was doing it. Similar family background to me, um, you know,
Yeah.
same school that we went to. So it just made it a little more real.
Yeah. You can't underestimate how useful and important that is, to just have at least one figure like that
Yes.
to lead the way.
Exactly. Even if it's a hint, it's a reference point to which you can then say, if he did it, then so can
Mm.
I. I might not do the same thing, but
Mm.
yeah.
Exactly.
And then for yourself, did you have a catalyst moment like that? Maybe in college or when you were finishing school, how did you decide what you wanted to study or what direction you wanted to go?
So yeah, it just sort of goes incrementally a little bit, sort of with um, GCSEs. I did that option where I did an extra design and art.
Mm,
So I was dabbling with. There was always that thing of like, oh, I know a lot of a lot of creative people have this situation where perhaps parents are a little bit cautious about you going off to be a fine artist. Maybe it has to be something that's
yes.
perceived to be more commercial. But I was
Yes.
interested in design as well. I remember always being fascinated by typefaces, and enjoyed doing hand lettering and things from quite a young age. And so I was interested in that as well. And I think I ended up after foundation course, which was probably still like the most amazing playful year. Did you do a
Mm.
foundation course?
We don't have that here.
No. But it was a sort of try everything, meet lots of people. But I was living at home
Right.
and had a grant.
Oh, wow.
So I could buy all the art materials, huge portfolio, get really into that idea of being an artist with my big toolkit, going in every day and just so absorbed in it all.
Yes.
And I think I applied for illustration and graphic design, and I ended up getting into Glasgow School of Art.
Okay.
And they said, we like you, we think you've got good ideas, we think you should do the graphic design degree. And
Right.
I actually just went along with it. But it worked out fine
Right.
because their graphics course was very drawing based. So we
Mm.
would do life drawing, location drawing. There wasn't too much sort of tight graphics. They weren't too obsessed with computer generated stuff. So
Yeah.
it was probably before that became more of
The
this.
norm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and very ideas based. So I absolutely thrived in that. And then I had the opportunity to do some animation. So that's when things took another turn.
Right.
Yeah.
And animation within the course?
Yeah. I didn't get a lot of sort of technical. It was a lot more intuitive. It was kind of like, they would set a brief and you got a chance, and then a few of you would get a chance to make the film, and they'd give you a peg bar and some paper, and that's the camera, and you would just sort of make it up as you were going along, which was so exciting. And the magic of seeing your drawings moving is so intoxicating, and I just wanted more of that. And a few things happened because there was like a student competition, and I got funded to do a film in my last year. So I ended up coming out with this portfolio that was drawing, a bit of graphics and a bit of animation. And then, so I decided to go in that direction. And I was lucky because my tutor at Glasgow put me in touch with someone in London who he'd taught. And I went and got advice from them. And then I ended up getting my first job working on their film. So it's sort of...
Oh, wow.
I didn't really know how to animate or anything, but I kind of had potential.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then how did you figure that part out for yourself? Do you just learned on the job, or?
Well, it was like an apprenticeship almost, this first job, with a brilliant woman called Emma Calder. There was a small company called Pearly Oyster, and she got funding. She had funding to make a short film.
Right.
So BBC and lottery funding. And actually a nice thing to mention is that when I was a student, I'd been on a trip to Prague, and I filled my sketchbook. They've got those beautiful, sitting in the town square, drawing those beautiful tall buildings.
Right, yeah.
And she was like, oh, you might come in handy on my film, because she knew that she wanted the backgrounds to be that style of architecture. The film was based on some music called The Queen's Monastery by Janicek, who was a Czech composer. So there were all these lovely things that aligned.
Right.
And I always say to people, fill your sketchbook with things that you're genuinely inspired by and interested in, because it could land you with your dream job. I know Emma says there are a few more other reasons why she employed me, but I like to use that as a kind of good example of you've got to. So Emma, I wasn't paid a lot, but to be paid just a bit feels much better than what I was getting as a student. So so she was training me. I was her assistant, which meant doing everything, but she trusted me to do some quite ambitious bits of animation. But then I was also doing the in-between drawings and it was all watercolor artwork.
Oh, wow.
And every background drawings were mainly just pencil lines, kind of very sort of hard pencil line. But each one was drawn on each piece of paper by me.
Wow.
You would think it might be comped on later, but we did. But it was like a brilliant. And also I was sent on there used to be a thing called the British Animation Training Scheme that was at the Museum of Moving Image on the South Bank in London. And I'd go there for maybe a year every Friday. And we were taught really tight technical stuff with galloping horses and head turns and bouncing things and, and in fact, even Emma and her partner Jed at Pearly Oyster, they were teaching me things like that.
Right.
So I got a good grounding on all the basic stuff at the same time as helping her make her film. So that was a really brilliant start for me.
Yeah. And so then you delved into the world of animation from there. Did you set out on your own? Were you working with studios? What was going on?
Yeah, so that was a really lovely introduction, because that film ended up getting into festivals, and we went to Annecy and Portugal, different things. So you would sort of get to, and there was a Cardiff Animation Festival, and you'd sort of start networking and meeting people.
Yeah.
And so I was there for quite a while, but then, so after that film, it kind of opened the door to other studios. So Pearly Oyster was like in East London, like a proper artist studio. And then so after that, I discovered the sort of animation scene in Soho in London, and started working on commercials and things, and a real variety of different projects basically over the years, commercials and other films and different things. I mean, I was doing that for over 15 years. So there is probably a lot to tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. So 15 years in this whole other industry. What then was your next catalyst moment where you're like, actually, I want to do children's books now, you know?
Well, I don't know. You see, things tend to happen quite slowly with me.
Okay.
You know, I think about things for quite a while until it's like, right, let's make this happen. And so the animation, a lot of the time, I was kind of a hired hand, you know, it was kind of like, but it felt like it's a great way to earn a living by drawing. And so some jobs were wonderful, and there was a studio, Bermuda Shorts, that represented me as a sort of art director. So I would do the illustration for the pitch for a commercial, and then they team me up with a director. And I did a few things like that, and they were always my favourite.
Right, yeah.
When I could just do these illustrations. So I was always working on my illustration portfolio all that time, and working on my style. And then, so sometimes it would be using my style, but a lot of the time it was replicating another illustrator's style.
Yes.
So I worked on the Snowman Snow Dog, which was Raymond Briggs, which is amazing to be like, oh, I'm drawing the snowman. But it was so different to my own natural style.
Yeah.
I was also drawing Quentin Blake's style for a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory West End show. There was a little film about how to make chocolate.
Wow.
And so that, like, things like that are amazing, and you learn so much. But in between those jobs, they were well enough paid that it allowed me to have these little windows of play where I remembered who I am again. Yes. So all those years, I was building up to being who I am now. I was doing things like, well, actually, conveniently, you can see there's these paintings on the wall. There was a series, Yes, No, and No's in another room, but that's maybe up there. Okay. So playing with shape and pattern and doing a lot of collaborations. There was always, that's such an important thing for me. Through all that time, I was doing little exhibitions with friends and little sort of low budget animation things that were projected on the underground and little projects.
Yes.
So I was sort of establishing myself sort of as an illustrator of sorts, doing these lovely, interesting things alongside, and printing cards and selling them, and just gaining a little bit of momentum and getting my website together. So, but it wasn't until I'd finished on quite a big job and thought, I'm just going to have a go at this picture book thing. I'd done these paintings, and I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice to do a book that's to do with the thing that I love so much, which is kind of playing with colour and pattern. And I thought, how about doing a book inspired by that? And I came up with the idea for my first book, Hiding Heidi.
Yes.
And I was so sort of, I was just sort of, that gave me the confidence to think maybe now's the time, because I feel like I've got something now to pitch. Yes. And I had other previous ideas as well, which I kind of, I'm still going through now. So it was a really useful time, all those years of sort of building up a backlog of ideas and experiments and things, which I'm still referring to. But it was that, when I had that idea, I guess if we need to pinpoint a catalyst thing, it was then. It was like I had the idea for Hiding Heidi.
Yes.
And I remember a friend saying, Fiona, I think you're ready now. You're ready. Because they all knew my work. You're ready to give it a go, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what happened, basically. So that was the turning point.
Wow.
I was thinking, okay, I've got a book idea. Let's try that.
I think that that really speaks to the importance of building a practice of play and the fact that, creating that space and allowing your curiosity to guide you then evolved into an idea for a picture book.
Yeah.
That wasn't the intention when you started out. Your intention was playing with shapes and colors and
Mm,
textures, and invariably that process of pursuing your curiosity creates more ideas, and those ideas then
absolutely.
sort of bloom into
Yeah.
something bigger than you could have expected,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is a lovely thing.
Yeah. It's a really lovely thing. So that's always my best advice for people. Everyone's
Yeah.
got the thing, haven't they? They've all got their thing. They love drawing. It's like, well, why don't you just pursue that for a bit? Because it might just get you your dream job, and it's going to be your best work because you're so passionate.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And so was it quite an easy process for you pitching the book? Was it a hard process? Did you get rejections? I mean, like, I think the difference from what I can tell is because you spent 15 years thinking about these things. I think your idea was a little more developed than a lot of us who might spend maybe a couple of months or maybe a year in
Well,
contrast.
my kind of techniques and aesthetic and approach to creating work was
Yes.
fairly well developed. I
Right.
didn't
Yeah.
have the Hiding Heidi idea wasn't fully resolved. In fact, I wasn't entirely sure I would write it. So I hadn't been thinking much about words. It was still ideas and images. And I had a strong concept, but
Okay.
I didn't. So I got my agent that was fairly smooth. That kind of worked out quite quickly. But I think they took me on before I was possibly 100% ready portfolio wise, because I don't think my portfolio was totally geared to kids. So
Yes.
I did more work and worked with my agents to develop the Hiding Heidi more. You sort of forget the timelines on things, but I don't think I had the book. I think it was like a New Year's resolution thing. I was like, oh, I'm going to try and get an agent like in the January. And I think I pretty much did early that year. And then the book deal didn't come the autumn that year. And that was quite a difficult year of sort of turning down animation jobs. I took on a bit of animation to keep me going, but it was really difficult. I was sort of turning them down because it's like, I really want this to happen. So I threw everything I worked really hard and threw everything at it, like working on the Hiding Heidi ideas, developing and making it as good as I could. So that was, and so I presumably, maybe they shielded me a bit, but I think there must have been quite a lot of rejections from publishers on the idea until I landed with, because I think there were kind of, oh, they're interested.
Yeah.
But actually the only publisher I actually went in and spoke to was Simon and Schuster, who ended up signing me. And so it wasn't, I'm sure a lot of people have maybe a harder situation, but it wasn't a complete easy ride. It was a kind of like a lot of like, what am I doing? Turning down work so I can, I don't know if I'd exactly advise that, but when you just think, because the thing is with animation, it's so all consuming. You tend to have to work late and the weekend when you say yes to a job. So it's like, there's no room when you're in the job to sort of do another thing, really.
Yes.
So, so I just invested in myself at that point and thought, let's try and make this happen.
And what kept you motivated to push through those months? Was it the fact that this lifestyle that I am currently in, even though I enjoy animation, is not the long-term solution I'm looking for? Or was it more of like a creatively, this isn't fulfilling me as much as something else, and I need to invest in that?
Yeah. It's a little bit of both of those that you just covered.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, the animation, I stuck with it because it was so wonderful working with brilliant, talented people. And it is that thing that the Now, what's the phrase about the sum of the parts?
Make a whole.
Well, yeah, the end result is often far exceeds anything I'd be capable of on my own, because I'm working with
Right.
these
Yeah.
geniuses who can just magically animate things in such an amazing way, with an amazing vision. So the magic of seeing things move just kept me motivated to keep doing it, because I was working on these films where you'll come together and watch something big on the screen that you've all made together. So I loved it, but in the back of my mind, I knew, so my jobs in those things perhaps were only using a small part of my potential,
Yes.
you know, because you are a kind of bit of a cog in the wheel. Like I said, not all the jobs were like that,
Yeah.
so it was that thing of thinking, I think I've got more creatively that I need to, you know, so there was a bit of me that felt a bit down, like, you know, I'm not entirely satisfied or fulfilled.
Yes.
Let's give this a go. So that's probably what kept me going, because, you know, I knew it would be worth it in the end.
Yes. Yes. And so then your first book succeeded, or you got it signed and you got it out there.
Yeah.
What was your path after that? Were you like, okay, great, I can just do picture books now? Or were you still sort of working through the role of animation in your career alongside children's books? And then at what point did you feel like you could fully transition from one to the other?
Well, it's weird. It almost wasn't a conscious thing, because the books very quickly just gained momentum. Because whilst I was doing Hiding Heidi,
Yes.
I took on a commission to illustrate someone else's story, A Dot in the Snow by Corrinne Averiss, and that was with Oxford University Press. So I was sort of juggling both of those. But what I didn't realise, I was in that luxurious situation of not promoting a book at the same time as making books. So then the next year, I was doing a second book whilst promoting Hiding Heidi, and you throw everything at that because it's your first one. So we were doing animation and, of course. So that's where that came in. But the decision was made for me because this momentum, this snowballing thing started happening where there just wasn't time. You know, I was lucky that I was being offered animation, but I just had to say, sorry, no, I've got a deadline. You know, I was always like, no, I've got a deadline. So how can I possibly put myself in that situation where I don't have any time to do the books?
Yes.
And I think I did the odd little thing over those early few years. I dipped in occasionally, like, are we getting the old team back together to do something or whatever? And I'd do the odd little thing. But really the animation part of it's only been when we're doing promo for the books. I kind of work with my brilliantly talented friend Mackie, who kindly enjoys animating the characters. So we always do a little loop or something. But I like to think that I'll make time somehow to even just play around doing my own little animation things and see where that leads at some point.
Yes.
Or the dream is if a book goes full circle and becomes a,
animated feature.
There, isn't there?
Nice. Yeah. This is sort of fascinating because the last three people I've chatted to, interviewed, have all delved in animation and then moved into children's books. And I wonder, what is the deeper correlation between the two?
Well, of course, there's lots of transferable skills, aren't there?
Yes.
I mean, I must admit, I found it so liberating initially when I was doing these roughs, how few drawings I had to do.
Yes.
But anyway, but the thing is, there's so many different skills in animation, and it wasn't very often that I was making up a story or storyboarding it. I did do that in some projects and films that I'd made as a student and all that. But there were still new things I had to learn. But yeah, the correlation, there's so many things. And also, I like bringing that inevitably into my illustrations, that thing of capturing movement on the page. I love that thing of it's just that static keyframe, isn't it?
Yes.
Like, and what's the perfect pose to convey what's going on and convey that emotion and the body language and all of that. And telling the story with colour and thinking about the composition and all those skills. But so it's a natural thing, isn't it? It's a natural
fit.
I can see why there's quite a lot of us transitioning.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, I myself studied animation before I ended up doing illustration. Well, I did graphic design in between. But I think that is one of the most frequent comments I get, is that your work has so much motion in it, even though it's still. And so I think that is very much can be traced back to studying animation. And the fact that, 80% of our conversation is body language, these hidden cues that are happening, shouldn't that then be prevalent in our work as well? Even stillness has a body language to it.
Exactly.
And if you can capture that, it just makes the emotional drama of the story that much more prevalent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
So I wonder if we're encouraging everybody to learn a little bit of animation.
Well, it wouldn't hurt. Just, you're right. It's quite an interesting exercise. Even if they don't become full-blown animators, it's just that thing, because it helps you, it encourages you to learn to really look. Because it's that thing when you're, I still do it when I sort of get excited watching someone who's got a really unusual kind of gait, the way they walk or something. Not that I was ever a pro at doing walk cycles, but I kind of think, oh, look, they'd be fantastic to animate, And it is all about looking and being observant as an illustrator as well, isn't it?
Yes.
And I think that's because that's the other thing, to backtrack to being a kid again, I used to get told off for staring because but it's like observing, but I was like, Fiona, stop staring, like I just be like gawping at things. But I'm still doing that now, but a lot more discreetly.
Just a big hat on.
Yeah, exactly. Like a little hole in a newspaper. No, but you can take in the world and put that into your work. It is about looking and being observant and noticing. It's noticing little details as well, isn't it? And that's the sort of thing that makes really brilliant animation, is those little gestures and those little details. And likewise, they come in handy in picture making as well. It's those little relatable characteristics and poses, that really enrich the work, I think. So you're right. It's almost like a little exercise for anyone is to really look and maybe think about things in a sequence, and that way, kind of, then you can find the best one to show what you want to say. It's
And I think it also makes for a better understanding of your character, like something that we all do in animation is a character turnaround. And so you start to learn to see the 2D thing in 3D in some ways in your head, and get a sense of dimension and space and repeat that same character over and over again.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's still hard, admittedly.
Yeah. 100%.
But that is one of the key things in theory. Continuity is something that's so important in animation. And that is one of those skills that is a necessity, really, isn't it, across a book?
Yeah. And I'm curious, speaking of like detail and continuity, and that just brings me the thought about style. And how did you hone into the style you have, having worked with so many different styles and varieties in animation? What kind of drew you to what you have? Was there a very conscious thought? Was it sort of a meandering that sort of just like, oh, this is me now? Or what was your evolution?
Um, it's an interesting one, because it wasn't. It was a real gradual, playful evolution over a lot of
Mm,
time. I know that there were. It's interesting because I remember because I sort of cut stencils. I'm really sort of interested in sort of textured color, but
yes.
then also line and trying to kind of combine that with a sort of gestural line as well. Sometimes, depending, well, basically the story dictates how my aesthetics kind of come out almost.
Mm,
But I was just sort of playing around, and it's so hard to pinpoint where it came from, if you know what I
yes.
mean.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
interestingly, I remember a really, really long time ago, a friend who worked on a magazine at the time sort of said, "Oh, you could do a little pitch for one of the articles for like a kind of
Mm,
teenage magazine." But she said, "Oh, we mainly commissioned like flat color because I think it was probably most of the things were done in Illustrator or whatever." But she said, "Oh,
yes.
give it a go." And I didn't have a computer. And I thought the nearest thing to that was if I cut stencils and sort of color in the color with sort of flat color. But I'm sort of almost allergic to completely flat color. So I always like it to have a bit of texture. And I remember
Yeah.
maybe one of the first times I did that, this was such a long time ago. And they went, "Oh, that's nice." But they didn't end up commissioning me. I remember doing
Yeah.
these quite interesting little characters that had these little stenciled clothes on. And that was
Yes.
such a long time ago. And then I started playing using children's blow pens and rubber
Mm,
stamps. And it kind of became a toolkit of different ways of working. But
right.
I still like experimenting and playing with different things. And
Mm,
different books will require different materials
yes. Yeah.
somehow just to help tell that story. So, I mean, I hope they still look like me, but things are often continually shifting. But I've got this kind of basic toolkit of things that I'm drawn to using.
Mm. I think style is also ever evolving because
Yeah,
our own tastes and flavors change as we get older. We're attracted to certain things over others, and then we clarify our likes and dislikes, and so that also evolves our style in a gradual way.
yeah.
But I was wondering if you were to give a young illustrator advice on finding their style, what would it be? Because I feel like for illustrators that's an obsession where
I
especially
know.
young illustrators it's like, oh, I need to find my style,
I
you
don't
know.
like all this fine style. It's almost like I hate the idea. It's almost like just go and look on Pinterest, then put a coat on, and now I've got a style or something. It's just not how it works, I don't think. But no
Yeah.
one, not. You see, I was very lucky. I had all these years. I mean, I think the way I work now looks quite different to how it looked when I graduated. Like
Mm,
something did start happening, but it was informed by the fact I used to do a lot of location drawing
mm,
and that thing of looking and sort of editing something in real life
yes.
um, makes you realize what's important to you. So, like,
Mm,
that's if I'm applying what happened with me to someone else, it's almost like, so with me, I'd be looking at something, I'd be like sitting drawing, but what I'm interested in is looking at those shapes and the graphic composition of what I'm looking at and like editing out the things that aren't important. And then that informed, how I would work on my own self-initiated pieces.
yes.
But so this thing of getting a style, it is, I don't know. My advice would be, yeah, that thing, going back to that thing of playing, and let it evolve organically, because we're after unique creatives. We don't want someone a bit like you or a bit like me, really. What's the point? Because everyone, there's only one you. What is it? What's your one unique thing? And there is potential to have your own unique style, and that's going to be an advantage, isn't it? But I think it's, I don't know what's the better word to style. Have we ever come up with a better way of saying it? Like, is it an approach? Is it yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it?
Yeah. When I think about it, I like to sum it up as sort of like style is the convergence of who we are, our personality, or then what we're interested in, our inspiration, and then our identifiable voice. What do we want to say, and then our play with texture, shape, and color, and all of that. So the traditional working out of our art. And so when you start combining these four elements together, you sort of have a summation of a style, because it's who you are, it's what you want to say, it's the way you want to say it, combined with what you're most inspired by.
Yeah, that's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's that thing, it is fine to look at other people as a starting point, isn't it? And that's what all artists have done through time.
Yes. Yeah.
I remember
imitation.
It's just taking it and turning it into something new. A really good example of this, but this is more in sort of fine art. I went to a talk by Bridget Riley, who's known for her kind of op art, quite psychedelic work, very abstract. But she was talking about when she used to go into one of the major London galleries and copy Surat, who did those post-impressionist Prantulist pieces. They all made up of little dots to make these kind of beautiful, relaxing scenes. But she took that to a next stage and would turn it into this op art that was abstracted dots and lines and wiggly lines and things. And it's that thing of like, look at other people, as many as you can. And maybe you do start by doing your own little sketchbook version, but it has to move on really, really quickly into how does that filter through me and make my own thing.
Yes.
And I'm sure I don't remember exactly doing that, but it's that thing I've been very much always looking at things, but it's also looking in lots of different places, isn't it? Not just at picture books, but looking in
photographers and painters and
and textile like designers,
nature,
and everything is going to make it richer, I think. All these different inspirations. Yeah,
I think so. A nice way to sum it up would be, it starts with your identity, and then you look for inspiration. What are the things you're inspired by? Then you imitate the things you're inspired by, and then you innovate. So the 4 eyes.
Great. Yeah. And the innovate thing is really important.
Yeah, that's the key to then finding your style, because I mean, the reality is we are all copying somebody before us, and you trace that all the way back, because that's how we learn. Like, you can't walk or talk without imitation. That's how humans learn. And so even with drawing, you're imitating textures and styles and techniques, and in the process of that imitation, you start to figure out, okay, I want to curate the things that are meaningful to me. So maybe I like this this use of texture, and I like this use of shape, and then I like this use of line. And when you combine that, that's then your unique summation of, like
Mm,
all the things you've imitated.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Very well put.
yeah. And the other thing I've been wondering is, right now, or up to this stage, social media has played a very important role in helping promote artists, or like the introduction of it. Because prior to social media, it was blogs, and if your blog blew up, then you got
Yeah,
lucky. And then prior to blogs, it was, you had to really like smash your way through the gatekeepers, and if somebody said this is the person, then you got all the traction possible. So what has your experience been in any of these realms, and how has it been evolving, and what do you think is the importance of defining your identity on platforms so that you
mm,
are sought after, I suppose, so you can get the work that you want to do.
yeah, yeah. It is important, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's quite a weird time for putting your work out there.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting. It hasn't come naturally to me, I suppose, because in the animation work, I did used to have to kind of go around with my portfolio and my little show reel
Yeah.
at the start. But this
Mm.
is the bizarre thing. After a while, I wasn't even making a new show reel. It was almost word of mouth.
Yes.
And you were sort of one of the people in these teams that would get hired on jobs.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to have a website or anything, which is quite weird to think
Yeah.
of it. So I was very lucky in that regard. It took me a while. It felt like such a big deal when I did my first website. But as
Mm.
soon as I did it, like things started happening,
Yes.
and I was quite brave and was contacting people and places. So it has to be done. You have to put your work out there. But it is important to take your time to show your best work and to show the version of you that you want people to be seeing. And I had a blog and I enjoyed that. And I had that during the time when I was doing my animation, and it was a place to start curating my own aesthetic and my own world. And I was quite proud of that.
Mm.
That was going on alongside the animation, and it was my place just to share things.
Yes.
So, and then that helped me when Instagram came along, because it felt like, so I ditched that and got going on Instagram and
Yeah.
used it in the same way of always being quite considered with what I was putting on, and curating it and trying to see that as a sort of almost like a bit of a portfolio platform.
Yes.
And so, and we're at the stage where I feel like I'm doing that less and less, but I've got
Mm.
my Substack, the Woodcock Dispatch, which again isn't very frequent. I'm not one of those
Yeah.
spammers, but that's like occasionally I really like to do a bit of a deep dive on something. I was doing that occasionally on Instagram, where I'd just kind of think of something I'd really love to explore, but it would
Yeah.
be far too much text to fit in the allocated thing. So
Yeah.
so now I'm sort of Substack and occasional Instagram. But
Mm.
yes, I would say to anyone, you do have to find a way of getting your work out there. You do need people to know you exist, don't you?
Yes. Yeah. For
It's
sure.
it's essential, and it's a nice way of building up a community.
Mm.
You can't underestimate how enriching that is, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
To
Can
be
we?
getting feedback and getting to know people who become real life friends. Um, some good stuff's come out of it for sure.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
I guess I'm so of a kind of from another era that I kind of had to I had to kind of ease myself. I remember being kind of quite scared posting, like my first time I was starting to post my work, like maybe on Facebook or something, or on my personal Facebook one, and being such a big deal.
Yeah.
Exposing myself like that,
Yeah.
But then you sort of just gain confidence after a while, and then there's no stopping you. But
Yeah. Can we dive a little deeper into, the importance of community and how that has sort of shaped your career? And because it seems like collaboration has been a big part of
yeah,
your career. Obviously, as an animator, you can't work on your own, but then how has that evolved into children's picture book making, which is also collaborative, but quite different in some ways? Um, and then overall, how much of a role does community play in enriching your creative career?
yeah. So yeah, so to sort of go through all those different eras, that community. It's interesting. It's been quite similar, the feeling of community that I had in the animation. And I'm still got lots of really good friends. Now, one interesting thing about that community is how much you learn from other people.
Right.
That's an interesting thing just to touch on. In animation, I work with so many brilliant people, and there's things I still think about when I'm working that I learned from individuals in that community. But then there's the sort of in animation as well, there's that thing of sort of that camaraderie and the social side as well, of always going to the pub on the Friday night or whatever. But then also that thing of helping each other, like if there was a deadline, you would split the scenes up and help each other get everything done. Like you weren't on your own ever.
Yes.
So it was pressured, but it was a shared pressure. But the interesting thing with the picture books, I did know a few people who'd transitioned from animation into picture books. So I only knew a couple of people in the industry. But It's amazing how many people I know now, and how you instantly make friends with people because you've got so much in common. So that was something I hadn't anticipated. This brilliant community of supportive friends in picture books.
Yeah.
What was was there a final part of your question that you wanted me to address?
Well,
I covered it.
Before we go into that, I'm just curious because you were working in quite a tight-knit, community-based job, animation. Moving from that to picture book making, suddenly you're quite isolated. Even though you're working in a team, a lot of the time you're working in isolation. How did you then kind of rebuild that community around yourself?
Yeah, well, I made sure. So some of the animation jobs were working at home. So I was occasionally. So I was used to, firstly, that thing of having quite a healthy routine of making sure I go out for a walk and don't just become a sort of static person.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that the fact that I'm sort of working at home in this room most of my life forced me to very quickly compensate for that by going out to talks, industry things where I would turn up on my own, not knowing anyone, but by the time I left, I did know someone. Oh, let's connect on Instagram.
Yes.
And then saying yes to invites to book launches, and honestly, within a few years, I had new genuine friends, and then it's evolved into like people in a WhatsApp group, various WhatsApp groups who support each other and ask questions, and it's a really, really lovely community. But you do have to make an effort to sort of nurture those relationships, and to make that happen, you have to be quite brave and just show up on your own. Go,
Yeah,
hello,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and see where it goes. But you can be absolutely reassured that you're going to meet lovely people if you do that.
Mm,
And only good things can come from it.
yeah.
So apart from when I've got a real deadline and I do turn into an official hermit, really,
Mm,
I try to sort of, there is always that pressure because there's always something to do. There's always something to do, but I try
yes.
to, at least once a week, go to a book launch or something, get out of my little local area.
Yes.
Because it is important. It is important to still see the world
Mm,
because that's where a lot
mm,
of the ideas come from.
exactly. Exactly. I think you bring up another really important point there is, showing up for the community even before you're a part of the community
Mm.
is what helps integrate you into it. And so rather than like I find a lot of young children's book writers, illustrators, anybody wanting getting into the world, they turn up, but then they're always asking for things
Okay.
versus, showing up and then trying to be supportive of what's already happening there.
Mm.
And I think shifting that perspective is helpful because when we put ourselves forward to be helpful, that then it almost creates this like, I don't know what the effect is, but like then other people want to help you automatically, right?
Yeah.
It's almost
Yeah.
like a quid pro quo, but like it's not a conscious thing. You're not like consciously, okay, how can I get this, do this so I can get this back? It's a genuine
Mm.
love for what they're doing and wanting to be a part of it in any way possible that then develops that feeling back towards you. And I think
Mm.
that's an important distinction to make is like not to just go in and be like, what can I get out of these people versus
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder what it's like a beautiful karma thing, isn't it? It's that thing of like, I wonder what the phrase is for what you're describing, but
yeah.
no, you're right. Um, it's nice when there's a sort of generosity.
Mm,
Um,
I think that's a nice word, generosity.
mm, mm, yeah.
It's it's a good way to talk about how you give yourself over to the community. And through that generosity, there's a generative effect.
Mm, yeah. I think you're probably quite a shining example of it, aren't you?
Yeah, 100%. Like I wouldn't be where I would be without the children's book community, you know?
Yeah.
They- I did what I could to be a part of it as much as I could, and that inevitably created a space for me.
Mm, yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah. And I would love to keep chatting to you, but our time is coming to an end.
So it
Uh,
is.
so before we go, if there's one piece of advice you would give the next generation of illustrator or a younger version of yourself, what would that piece of advice be?
Blimey, just one piece of advice.
Well,
Well,
it's like
it's
you
so
can give
hard,
more
isn't
than
it?
one. It's
I
just
know,
like,
it's so
what
hard.
would, yeah.
Yeah. I always say to look, I always say draw it to solve it. You know, when you're stuck in a problem, you have to sit down and draw it and the answer will come.
Mm,
Draw it to solve it with all your things. And again, the play thing.
yes.
But there's a really basic thing to do with children's books that to buy the children, now what's it called? Something like the children's artists and writers yearbook. I always say that's a kind of really, really practical thing.
Right.
Because I sat down and read that and then came up with my Hiding Heidi idea. That's just how it
Mm.
worked. Because I was just focused, like, right, I'm serious now. This is what I want to do. But they're just a few little things. But, you know, you have to be quite patient as well.
Mm.
And chip away at something, you know?
Yes.
And whatever you're doing, you're still going to be learning something. You're acquiring skills, you're meeting people, you're developing your personality, you're gaining confidence. You've got to be patient.
Well, I think that that is a really great summation of your approach and your career. Is patience seems to be the fundamental building block on which you've done things, and it's kind of created a compounding effect in the long term. But in the short, you don't necessarily see the fruit straight away, as it were. And so that's like a tree, right?
Yeah.
Growing takes time, and then suddenly overnight you see fruits.
Yeah.
But the person who suddenly sees the fruit doesn't realize it took 10, 15 years for that tree to grow.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
Which brings me on to my last question, which is, what does the word fruitful mean to you?
I think it's about engaging with the world in a positive way that sort of brings about growth. It's kind of fruitful. It's like a productive way of engaging with the world that something can grow from. Something like that.
I love that answer. Thank you. Well, hey, thank you all for listening to this episode of The Fruitful Life. I hope you walked away with some nuggets of wisdom. And if you did, please do me a favor, leave a rating and a comment to tell me what you think of the show. Also consider telling a friend that might like it. As always, be true, be you, stay fruitful.